Remember when a normal sitcom about a Chicago cop raising his kids and helping his family somehow turned into a science fiction experiment starring a guy in suspenders? Yeah, that was Family Matters. Premiering on ABC in 1989 and running for 9 seasons, the show started as a blue-collar spin-off of Perfect Strangers. It centered on Carl Winslow, played by Reginald VelJohnson, his wife Harriet, played by Jo Marie Payton, and their kids. Eldest son Eddie, played by Darius McCrary, daughter Laura, played by Kellie S. Williams, and youngest daughter Judy, played by Jaimee Foxworth. You know, the one who mysteriously vanished without a trace. More on that later. The setup was simple: parenting, work stress, and keeping it together in a working-class Chicago household. And then Steve Urkel showed up, played by Jaleel White, who quietly turned Family Matters into one of the, let's say, strangest sitcom evolutions of the 1990s. It looked like a family comedy, but it behaved like a mad science lab. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about Family Matters. So, grab your suspenders, ignore the laws of physics, and let's get into it. And hey, if you forget to like and subscribe, well, did you do that? Number 15, Urkel took over the show. Steve Urkel was never supposed to happen. He was written as a one-episode gag in Season 1's Laura's First Date, the worst possible date for Laura Winslow. Annoying, awkward, and gone by the credits. That was it.
That's alright, Dad. But the next time you feel like fixing me up, do me a favor. Picture Steve Urkel.
Jaleel White was just 12 when he booked that single appearance, but when the studio audience lost their minds, the producers made a choice. The annoying neighbor wasn't leaving. By Season 2, he was a main cast member. By mid-run, the show had quietly stopped being about Carl Winslow's family and started orbiting around a pair of suspenders and a nasally, "Did I do that?
Did I do that?"
And then Urkel escaped the show entirely. By the early 1990s, Steve Urkel wasn't just a character on Family Matters.
Oh, hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine.
Steve, would you mind coming over to the restaurant on Sunday about 7:30?
What?
He was a brand, a mascot, a merchandising empire wearing suspenders. At its peak, Urkel had invaded malls, toy aisles, and kitchen tables across America. Everyone wanted their hands on Stephen Q. Urkel in some way, shape, or form. There were Urkel-O cereal boxes sitting next to the Cheerios, promising strawberry banana flavor and bizarre promotional tie-ins like Urkel for President stickers. There were talking pull string dolls that repeated, "Did I do that?
Did I do that?"
Until parents quietly removed the batteries out of self-preservation. I had one of those dolls. Lunchboxes, t-shirts, school supplies, trapper keepers. If it could be licensed, Urkel's face was on it. And then there was the dance. Do the Urkel became a full-on craze, and the video clip to this day still gets views.
It's time to do the Urkel.
Hitch up your pants,
Hitch up your pants.
stick out your pelvis,
Stick out your pelvis.
commit fully. If you were a kid in the early 90s, you either did the dance at a school assembly or watched someone else do it while you wished the floor would swallow you whole. Carl stayed the dad, the Winslows stayed the family, but make no mistake, Family Matters became Urkel's world. Everyone else was just paying rent. Number 14, Steve Urkel was named after a real person. Believe it or not, Steve Urkel wasn't just a random collection of syllables designed to sound annoying.
This afternoon, I found out that Lowell is scheduled to undergo extremely dangerous research, testing discount parachutes. So Lowell and I skedaddled.
He was named after a real guy. When Family Matters was being developed, co-creator Michael Warren needed a name for a throwaway character, so he borrowed the name of a real-life friend, Stephen Urkel with an E. At the time, it felt harmless, a one-episode gag for the bad date character. We all know how that turned out. Once Urkel exploded into a full-blown pop culture phenomenon, the real Steve Urkel with an E found himself living in a sitcom nightmare of his own. His name was suddenly famous. He reportedly received years of prank phone calls from strangers asking for Steve, often pretending to be Laura Winslow.
Laura, to even hear you speak of another man is like an arrow piercing me. Alex is so cute.
Businesses questioned his credit cards and paperwork, assuming the name had to be fake, and introductions became exhausting. Explanations got old pretty fast. Michael Warren later admitted that if he'd known the character would become one of the most recognizable figures in television history, he never would have used his friend's name. Meanwhile, on TV, Urkel became unavoidable, and somewhere out there was a normal guy who didn't wear suspenders, didn't build cloning machines, and definitely never asked, "Did I do that?"
Did I do that?
And yet, he still had to answer for all of it. Number 13, Jaleel White was almost a Huxtable. Before suspenders, Jaleel White almost lived in the Huxtable house. Back in 1984, The Cosby Show was coming together, and the youngest Huxtable wasn't Rudy yet.
I did that already.
What about playing with Dad? I'll be your friend.
Can my friend Maria come over?
The character was originally written as a boy. Jaleel auditioned, then auditioned again, then stayed for what he's described as a 5 or 6 hour marathon session that made it feel like the role was basically his. By the end of the day, he thought he'd landed it. Then came the final audition, and that's when Keisha Knight Pulliam walked in. Bill Cosby decided he wanted the TV family to mirror his real one more closely, and just like that, Rudy became a girl.
But I want to wear this.
No, you look like a fortune teller. You don't want to dress like this. We'll save this later for when you go to the prom, all right? You like that? Huh? Okay.
The role was gone, and White didn't just lose a job, he lost what would become the biggest sitcom of the decade. White later called it a heartbreaking experience. He cried, and his mother told him never to react that way again. Show business lesson learned at 12 years old. For a while, it looked like just another near miss. Then came a one-time guest spot on Family Matters. Steve Urkel wasn't supposed to matter, and yet that throwaway role turned into 9 seasons, crossovers, merchandise empire, and cultural immortality, all because the audience laughed too loud.
Toga, hey, don't call me Freddie. Don't call me Marty. Just call me Mr. Party Hardy.
White has since said not getting The Cosby Show was a blessing in disguise. Instead of being one of many kids in TV's most famous family, he became the face of his own phenomenon. It's funny how television destiny works like that. Number 12, Judy Winslow didn't just leave, she was erased. Most TV kids get written out gently. Judy Winslow got Thanos snapped. Halfway through Family Matters, the youngest Winslow simply vanished.
Come on, Judy, try to keep up.
I can't. I have a stomachache.
That's because you eat more times than you make.
How would you like to tie up your nose?
No episode explaining it, no awkward line like, she's staying with Aunt so-and-so, or Uncle who and what. But the show acted like she never existed. Judy, played by Jaimee Foxworth, made her final appearance in season 4's Mama's Wedding. After that, nothing. Never seen again. Never even mentioned. Not even referenced in scenes that took place entirely inside the Winslow house. The girl lived there and the writers pretended she didn't. It got worse though.
Hi, guys.
Oh, howdy doody, Judy.
So you guys are hanging out together?
Yeah, we're best buds.
In later seasons, characters openly referred to the Winslows as having 2 children, Eddie and Laura, retroactively rewriting Judy out of family history like a clerical error. The reasons varied depending on who you asked. Officially, producers blamed budget cuts. Unofficially, though, the show's full pivot towards Steve Urkel meant there was no room for the youngest daughter. Foxworth has since said that behind-the-scenes friction between her mother and producers didn't help matters. Here's the brutal part. Nobody even noticed right away. Cast members later admitted they didn't realize Judy was gone until fans brought it up.
Oh, mine too.
Judy, you had your tonsils taken out 4 years ago.
Oh, I mean my feet.
And when Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet, asked during rehearsals where the baby of the family was, she was told it didn't matter. It didn't matter. That's not a character exit, that's a full sitcom memory wipe. The show never blinked, and neither did the laugh track. Number 11, the final season, changed everything. By the late 90s, Family Matters was running on fumes.
Well, yeah, aren't you Whitney Houston? Hello, Carl.
Oh, how's it going, Stefan?
Hey, I'm just maxing and relaxing.
Hey, well, I'm couching and slouching.
After 8 seasons on ABC's lineup, the show got quietly shuffled over to CBS for season 9, landing in something called the CBS Block Party. The name alone tells you how confident everyone felt about this move. Then, things got a bit stranger. Midway through the final season, Jo Marie Payton, who had played Harriet Winslow since the pilot, suddenly exited. Sound familiar? Judy Winslow sends her regards. Instead, Harriet was now played by Judy Ann Elder. Same character, same name, just an entirely different face.
I didn't interfere.
Yes, you did, Harriet. You interfered.
That's a mother's right, Carl. If I think my child is in danger, I'm gonna do something about it.
Harriet, your child is a man now, and he can make his own decisions.
The show never addressed it either. Viewers were just expected to accept that Harriet had evolved, molted, maybe been quietly replaced by a pod person while everyone pretended not to notice. Behind the scenes, though, Payton had grown frustrated with the show's increasingly bizarre, Urkel-driven direction. After nearly a decade in the role, she'd had enough, and honestly, by season 9, Family Matters barely resembled the family sitcom that she'd signed up for anyway. There was still hope, though. A 10th season had been discussed, and the plan was clear. End the series properly, with Steve Urkel and Laura Winslow finally getting married. Full circle closure, roll credits, applause, but that never happened. Ratings dipped, and CBS pulled the plug after season 9 wrapped. Instead, the series ended with Lost in Space, an episode where Steve goes on a NASA mission to test an artificial gravity device.
I did it! I did it! I got the satellite! I did it!
Way to go, Steve.
Only one problem.
What's that?
I've flown away with it.
Don't worry, you'll stop when you reach the end of your tether.
Which, if you remember the early seasons about a Chicago cop paying bills and raising kids, is not where the show started. So Family Matters ended with 2 Harriets, no wedding, and its lead character literally floating away from Earth. Number 10, the Winslow house was basically a boarding home. For a family sitcom, the Winslows sure had trouble keeping their household count straight. At any given moment, that Chicago home was bursting with relatives, in-laws, and one uninvited neighbor who somehow never left. Let's do a head count. Before the show even started, Harriet's younger sister Rachel had already moved in with her infant son Richie after her husband passed.
There is no way your daddy is going to throw her out. He's got too big a heart. Remember when your Uncle Robert died and I had to take care of the baby all by myself? Well, your daddy asked me to move in here, right? And it wasn't all peaches and cream at first.
Played by Telma Hopkins, Rachel wasn't just crashing temporarily, she stuck around for 4 seasons, eventually opening her own teen hangout called Rachel's Place, which, by the way, she could only afford because Steve Urkel accidentally burned down the previous restaurant, so even her business existed because of Urkel chaos. Then there was Mother Winslow, Carl's streetwise, sharp-tongued mother Estelle, played by Rosetta Lenore. She moved in during the pilot episode and never left.
Hi, Mama.
There's my baby boy. Oh, Harriet, you get more beautiful every time I see you. Carl, you're putting on weight. Thank you for letting me come to live with you. Well, we're glad to have you, aren't we, Carl?
We're just tickled to death.
She was the only family member who actually liked Steve Urkel from day one, calling him Estelle ma belle right back. While everyone else treated Steve like a house fire, Grandma Winslow treated him like a grandson. By season 8, the house added another permanent resident, 3J, short for Jerry Jamal Jameson. Introduced as Urkel's little brother through a mentorship program, 3J had bounced through foster homes before hiding in the Winslow's attic. Naturally, Carl and Harriet adopted him. Played by Orlando Brown, 3J became the late series addition meant to inject some fresh energy into a show that had gone full mad scientist. And then there was Steve himself. In season 6, Urkel's parents announced they were moving to Russia after they'd already left. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just a one-way ticket to Moscow and a son left behind.
Oh, he's been asked to demonstrate it in hospitals all across Russia. Guys, my parents are moving to Moscow.
Steve briefly tried living with Eddie and Waldo, but that plan ended when his mutant termites got loose and ate their entire apartment, so Carl, very grudgingly, let Steve move into the Winslow house permanently. From neighbor to roommate, from uninvited guest to actual resident, Steve Urkel didn't just take over the show, he literally moved into it. The Winslow house wasn't a home, it was more of like a revolving door with a mortgage. Number 9, Reginald VelJohnson was there for every single episode. Through 9 seasons, network shifts, and one extremely persistent neighbor, there was exactly one constant on Family Matters. Reginald VelJohnson, who played Carl Winslow. He is the only cast member to appear in all 215 episodes of the series.
3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me?
and that matters more than it sounds. As the show drifted from grounded family sitcom into full-blown Urkel science hour, Carl stayed exactly where he started. The emotional anchor, the dad, the cop, the guy reacting like a normal human being while time machines, robots, and cloning mishaps erupted in his living room. Carl was the audience surrogate. He was us. Even when the show stopped resembling the one he signed up for, he showed up every week with the same dad energy.
Sit down, Carl. Carl!
No matter how strange Family Matters became, Carl Winslow was always home. Reginald VelJohnson never left. Number 8, Family Matters was a Perfect Strangers spin-off. Now, before Family Matters took over Friday nights, it was hiding in plain sight inside an elevator. The show didn't start as its own thing. It spun off from Perfect Strangers, the sitcom best known for Balky's accent, Larry's panic attacks, and a cheerful misunderstanding of how America works. That's where Harriet Winslow first appeared. Played by Jo Marie Payton, she wasn't a lead, she was the elevator operator at the Chicago Chronicle, the person pressing buttons and stealing every scene she wandered into, and audiences, they noticed.
And you just took it. Now listen here. You'd better be careful. One mistake, and you gone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the warning, Mrs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Balky Bartakamus, this is Harriet Winslow.
Harriet's confidence, sarcasm, and zero tolerance for nonsense stood out so much that ABC decided to give her a family. One supporting role turned into an entire sitcom. Now that's a glow-up. To make it official, Family Matters built the transition right into the story. In the show's second episode, Harriet gets fired from her elevator job, then immediately rehired as the Chronicle's chief of security.
Well, there was one, but they're not going to give it to me.
Well, what was it?
Well, the other day when Mr. Seeger was firing me, I noticed a posting for a security job at the Chronicle.
Now, there you go. Honey, you can do that.
Buttons to badge in one afternoon. Career counselors everywhere wept. Her husband, Carl, played by Reginald VelJohnson, was also quietly introduced on Perfect Strangers first in the season 4 episode Crime Busters, just to make sure the spin-off math checked out.
And I told them they could reach me here. I hope you guys don't mind if I kind of hang around a little while.
No, it's no problem.
All right.
So, Family Matters wasn't born from scratch, it was inherited from another sitcom side character, and that side character built a 9-season empire. Alright everybody, we're about halfway through this countdown, so we're going to take a quick pause because if you're enjoying this trip back to 90s sitcom chaos, do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't vanish from our schedule like Judy Winslow. Alright, let's get back to the weirdness with number 7, Family Matters helped define TGIF. Before streaming cues and are you still watching prompts, Friday night meant one thing, TGIF, and right at the center of it sat Family Matters.
Harriet, with all due respect and affection, that comment hurt the big guy here. And when the big guy hurts, I share his pain.
Family Matters ran more episodes on the block than any other series. 193 Fridays of America eating pizza, half doing homework during commercials, and pretending they weren't invested just because their parents were in the room. It also launched on the exact same night ABC officially branded TGIF in September of 1989. That wasn't a coincidence. This show was part of the blueprint. At its peak, TGIF pulled in 10 to 12 million viewers every week, turning what used to be a television dead zone into a must-watch family ritual. Cast members like Jaleel White and Reginald VelJohnson regularly popped up during commercial bumpers in character, hyping the rest of the lineup. Urkel would literally tell you to keep watching, and
A sleek 6-year-old beauty swooshing down the street on a hot pink Barbie bike. As she pedaled towards me, my heart sounded like the playing card in her spokes.
Carl would glare at the camera like a dad making sure you behaved through the next half hour. It was equal parts promotion and parental supervision. And then there were the crossovers. TGIF was a shared universe held together by vibes and scheduling. Steve Urkel wandered into Full House, helped Stephanie Tanner with a problem.
Why so melancholy, baby?
I can't tell you my problems. I don't even know you.
Oh. Well, I was born in Chicago on a cold winter night in 1976. My mom was in great deal of pain and I was charging the girl.
Then later crashed through a roof on Step by Step. Continuity didn't matter, physics didn't matter, the goal was simple. Don't touch that dial.
Something's coming to me. It's a brand new show called Step by Step, and it's up next.
Carol Foster and Frank Lambert meet on a vacation in Jamaica that launches them on an adventure of a lifetime.
I'm getting a vision. I see a woman, I see a man. Whoa, I see 6 kids under one roof. I see an enormous line for the bathroom.
Let's just see the show.
Family Matters didn't just succeed on TGIF. For 9 seasons, it was TGIF. And for a whole generation, Friday night didn't officially start until Urkel walked through someone's door uninvited. Number 6, Laura Winslow was originally the show's teen lead. Before Suspenders took over the screen, Family Matters already had a teen star. That was Laura Winslow. In the early episodes, Laura wasn't just the girl next door, she was the emotional center of the younger storylines. She was smart, confident, a little self-absorbed, and very much written as the character viewers her age were supposed to relate to. Now yes, Eddie was the oldest and Judy had a quick line, but Laura definitely stood out. Then, Steve Urkel showed up and everything shifted. As Urkel's popularity exploded, Laura's role quietly changed. She stayed a main character, but instead of driving her own stories, she became the anchor reacting to his chaos. The writers needed someone grounded, sane, and emotionally credible to balance the madness. Laura drew the short straw. Played by Kellie S. Williams, she became the straight man to Urkel's inventions, accidents, and relentless emotional persistence. Her independence faded, replaced by one single ongoing thread, whether she'd ever fall for Steve.
Steve, you couldn't. Ow. You wouldn't. Well, we're not stuck.
By the later seasons, that thread became the show's entire engine. The long-running will they won't they between Laura and Steve stretched across years, science experiments, personality swaps, and the introduction of Steve Urkel just to complicate things further. Eventually, the show landed the plane with Laura finally choosing Steve, leading to their engagement in the final season. Now, here's the irony. As the series leaned harder into sci-fi and slapstick, Laura matured the most. While everyone else got broader and louder, she softened. She was more compassionate, more patient, and more emotionally aware. Often, she was the only character reacting like an actual human being. Laura didn't lose importance, she lost control of the spotlight. Number 5, the Urkelbot was played by a breakdancing legend. When Family Matters introduced Urkelbot, it wasn't just another goofy prop episode, it was breakdancing royalty in a robot suit. The person inside Urkelbot wasn't a stunt guy or a random extra, it was Michael Chambers, better known as Boogaloo Shrimp, the same guy who played Turbo in Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. Chambers was one of the pioneers of popping, locking, and liquid animation, dance styles that already looked robotic before Hollywood ever needed an actual robot. Urkelbot's stiff yet fluid movement wasn't acting, it was decades of choreography packed into a foam suit. And that suit was no joke. Reportedly, the most expensive costume the show ever used, it took about 3 hours to put on. While Chambers handled the bodywork, a separate puppeteer controlled the animatronic head. Ears, eyebrows, the whole face. Getting one robot on screen was a full team operation. This wasn't a one-off career detour either. Chambers leaned into the robot niche hard. He later played a robotic version of Bill in Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure and brought animated swagger to MC Scat Cat in Paula Abdul's Opposites Attract video. So when Urkelbot showed up moving smoother than it had any right to, that wasn't TV magic. That was an 80s dance legend quietly carrying TGIF on his joints and expecting no one to notice. Number 4, the BMW Isetta became a sitcom legend. Steve Urkel didn't just walk into sitcom history, he drove into it sideways. That tiny bubble car Urkel squeezed out of on Family Matters was a real vehicle.
Yesterday I was a nerd. Today I'm a nerd they can't catch on foot. Hang on here, boxers, Kyle, we're off.
Steve, wait a minute. Don't do any... Steve, wait!
The BMW Isetta, a 1960s microcar originally designed for post-war Europe. Before Urkel, the Isetta was a niche curiosity. A one-door egg-shaped machine that opened from the front and looked like a refrigerator on wheels. Car enthusiasts knew it, but nobody else had ever even heard of it. Then Steve Urkel showed up, and suddenly, this tiny European oddity became inseparable from his entire identity. The suspenders, the glasses, the nasal voice, and that car pulling up to the Winslow house like it had lost a bet with physics. Over time, the Asceta stopped being a quirky European footnote and became a full-blown sitcom symbol. If you saw one on the street, you didn't think BMW, you thought Urkel. That association never faded. What had once been a novelty microcar quietly jumped in cultural value thanks to one nerdy neighbor. The Asceta became desirable not because it was fast, rare, or powerful, but because it was TV famous. Sitcom residuals hit the used car market, and that's the most Family Matters thing possible. Number 3, the theme song almost wasn't the theme. That warm, jazzy Family Matters theme feels inevitable now.
It's a rare condition this day and age.
Like it was always there, and it almost wasn't. When Family Matters first hit ABC, the show didn't have its own theme at all.
To read any good news on the newspaper page.
For the first 5 broadcasts, the opening music was a shortened version of What a Wonderful World. It was soft, gentle, and earnest. It fit the show's original pitch. A grounded family sitcom about a working-class Chicago household, a cop dad, a mom keeping things together. It was very wholesome, very calm, but it didn't feel like a sitcom. It felt like a nature documentary about good posture.
Love and tradition of the grand design, some people say.
Behind the scenes, producers quickly realized the show needed something punchier. Something that said Friday night comedy, not Sunday afternoon reflection. So by the 6th episode, they pulled the plug on Louis Armstrong and called in composers Jesse Frederick and Bennett Salve to build the show its own sound.
It's even harder to find.
What they delivered was As Days Go By. The new theme opened with a playful ragtime-style piano before swelling into a big, upbeat orchestral finish.
We're gonna fill our house with happiness.
Jesse Frederick sang lead, backed by a chorus of male singers, and suddenly Family Matters sounded like it belonged on TGIF.
It's the bigger love of the family.
Number 2, Jaleel White had to hide puberty. Steve Urkel was supposed to stay awkward forever, but Jaleel White's biology had other plans. By the later seasons of Family Matters, White was no longer a kid.
Maybe this will change your mind.
Who are you?
I'm your worst nightmare.
Oh, no. My worst nightmare is where I'm a big wedge of cheese, and I have no mouth, so I can't taste myself. So what happens is...
He was in his late teens and then his early 20s, still playing a nerdy high schooler in suspenders who tripped over furniture for a living. So the show did what TV always does when reality becomes inconvenient. It hit it. White has talked openly about the lengths he and production went to in order to preserve Urkel as eternally scrawny and teenage. That meant shaving constantly because any hint of facial hair was treated like a continuity emergency. Then there was the wardrobe situation. Those high-waisted, skin-tight jeans became a problem once White's body started filling out. Network executives reportedly got uncomfortable seeing a grown man squeezed into Urkel's original look, so the suspenders slowly disappeared and the jeans were swapped for baggier khakis. White later joked that taking off the old pants felt like peeling a banana. The voice, though, was even harder. Keeping Urkel's high-pitched nasal whine while his real voice was deepening caused serious strain. White has said it became physically painful over time and eventually led to long-term vocal cord damage. Playing Urkel wasn't just acting anymore, it was endurance training. And to keep the illusion alive, White deliberately avoided lifting weights or bulking up. No gym transformation, no leading man physique. The character couldn't grow, so neither could he. Years later, White reflected on the experience in his memoir Growing Up Urkel, calling it both scary and therapeutic to unpack. The role gave him stability and fame, but it also asked him to freeze himself in time while the rest of his life just kept moving. Number 1, Urkel's catchphrase almost didn't exist. You're already hearing it in your head. Did I do that?
Did I do that? Did I do that? Did I do that? Did I do that?
But here's the weird part. That line was never part of the master plan. When Steve Urkel first showed up, the writers knew he needed something to punctuate the chaos. A signature apology for whatever just exploded behind him. They just didn't know what that something was. During rehearsals, the show experimented. A lot. Sometimes Urkel would just say, "Excuse me," after knocking over furniture, but other times they tried borrowing a then inescapable pop culture line, "I've fallen and I can't get up." Yes, seriously, Imagine Urkel saying that every week. The show doesn't survive 9 seasons. What did survive was an accident. During one rehearsal, Jaleel White delivered a throwaway line with a specific mix of guilt, innocence, and nasal whine. Did I do that? The audience lost it.
Did I do that? Did I do that?
Back then, live studio audiences were basically test labs. Writers would lob lines into scenes and see what stuck in real time. When White hit that delivery, laughs came faster and louder than anything else they'd tried. Producers noticed immediately. By the next episode, it was back, and then it stayed, spread, and soon it was Urkel's entire brand. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Family Matters. Which one hit you the hardest? Which one caught you off guard? Tell us in the comments, and be sure to subscribe and share this with a friend who still does the Urkel dance. Until next time, got any cheese? This is Remember When.